intro. Hello, gentle dream traveler. Tonight's story is about a bed. Not an ordinary one, but a bed that once the world grew quiet, lifted softly into the night sky, carrying its little sleeper wherever dreams were waiting. In a quiet room with a soft nightlight and a sleepy hum in the air, there stood a small bed with 4 cozy corners, a patchwork quilt, and a pillow fluffed just right. It belonged to a boy named Leo. Leo loved his bed, not just because it was warm, but because it could float. Not every night, only the most peaceful ones. On those nights when Leo was calm and his breathing was slow, the bed would gently rise, just an inch at first, then another and another, until the legs no longer touched the floor and the whole bed drifted like a cloud in the middle of the room. The quilt would glow faintly, and the pillow would whisper, "Hold still now, we're going dreamy." Through the window they'd float, silent and safe, up past the rooftops and the treetops, higher than the chimneys, past the birds asleep in their nests. The sky would open like a sleepy sea, and stars would wave slowly as Leo's bed sailed by. He visited floating islands of silence, met sleepy stargazers who only spoke in yawns, and once passed a moon made entirely of soft socks and bedtime stories. The bed always knew when to return. As morning crept over the hills, it would gently glide back down, settling with the faintest sigh on the floor, right where it had started. Leo never told anyone, not because it was a secret, but because he didn't need to. Each night he'd climb in, hug his blanket close, and wait to feel that first gentle lift. So, tonight, when you lie in bed, be very still. Maybe, just maybe, your bed will float too. Good night. Good evening, little dreamer. Tonight's story is about a soft, curious pillow and its quiet journey following the moon across the sky. In a small, quiet bedroom, there lived a pillow named Moona. She was just like any other pillow, fluffy, gentle, and perfectly shaped for sleepy heads. But Moona had one special wish. She wanted to know where the moon went after everyone fell asleep. Each night, the moon would rise, casting soft, silver light across the room. Moona would watch from under the sleepy child's head, feeling the moonlight touch her fabric. It felt like magic. One night, as the child slept deeply and quietly, a gentle breeze slipped through the window, and something strange happened. Moona wiggled. She lifted, just a little, then floated softly into the air. She looked back once, making sure the child was still sleeping peacefully. Then, slowly and silently, she drifted out the window, following the moon. The moon moved gently across the sky, and Moona floated behind it like a sleepy balloon. She passed over rooftops and forests, over quiet lakes and yawning animals. She saw raccoons cuddling under trees, deer resting in tall grass, and owls blinking slowly from branches. Everyone was calm. Everyone was dreaming. As she followed the moon, Moona noticed how it never rushed. It moved with grace, like a lullaby without music. That's when Muna realized something beautiful. The moon wasn't just moving through the sky, it was watching over the whole world, spreading quiet wherever it went. And now, Muna was a part of that quiet, floating gently and carrying stillness with her. Eventually, the moon began to lower toward the horizon. It was time to say goodnight. For real. Muna understood. She turned, floated back across the rooftops, back into the quiet bedroom, and settled softly beneath the child's dreaming head. She didn't need to ask where the moon went anymore. She had followed it, felt it, understood it. Now, she was filled with moonlight of her own. Tonight, rest your head gently on your pillow. It may not float, but it knows the moon's path, and it's ready to carry your dreams there too. Good night. Hi there, little one. Are your hands still and your eyes getting soft? It's the perfect time for a quiet story about a crayon that only came to life when the world was fast asleep. In a small wooden box, tucked inside a quiet drawer, lived a set of crayons. They were bright, colorful, and loved to be used during the day. But there was one crayon, a little blue one, that never got picked. During art time, the red and yellow made suns, the green made trees, the pink made hearts. But the little blue crayon waited quietly, hoping just once to be chosen. He wasn't jealous, just patient. But something magical happened every night. Once the house went quiet and the lights were off, that's when the drawer slowly opened and the blue crayon rolled out on his own. The moonlight shone through the window and the crayon began to draw. Not pictures of flowers or houses. He drew dreams. He slid across pages and walls, drawing winding staircases through the stars, boats made of pillows, and clouds shaped like lions that purred. He didn't need a hand to hold him. The night itself guided his movement. Every drawing faded before morning, as if it had never been there. But one night, a little boy named Jonah woke up early and saw a trail of glowing blue across the floor. Curing. He followed it, eyes wide and sleepy, until he found the crayon, still humming softly with magic. The crayon stopped moving, as if shy. Jonah picked it up, held it gently, and whispered, "Thank you." From then on, every night, Jonah left a blank sheet of paper by the window and whispered before bed, "Draw me something beautiful." And the crayon always did. So if you ever find a tiny mark you don't remember making, or a dream that feels like it was drawn, maybe it was the blue crayon, leaving you a gift in the quiet of night. Good night, little artist. Hi there, little one. Tonight's story is about a quiet pair of slippers that had one very special job: to wait and never move until morning came. Beside a small bed in a cozy little room sat a pair of soft worn slippers. They didn't sparkle, they didn't beep or bounce, but they were very good at one thing: waiting. Each night, when the child placed them carefully on the rug, the slippers stayed perfectly still. They didn't wiggle, they didn't wander, they just waited. All through the night, as the moon shone through the curtains, the slippers listened. They heard dreams being whispered. They felt little feet turn under the covers. They counted each breath, soft and slow. The left slipper liked to hum a quiet tune in its mind. Sleepy feet, don't worry, I'm near. The right slipper liked to imagine what the child might dream of next. Flying elephants? Ticklish stars? A picnic on a cloud? And when morning came, just as the first yawn filled the room, the slippers would perk up inside, ready to be worn again. They didn't mind the wait. They didn't mind the quiet, because being there, right where they were needed, was their favorite thing in the world. Tonight, before you fall asleep, peek down at your slippers or shoes. They may not speak, but they're waiting for you to sleep, to dream, and to walk into a brand new day. Sweet dreams, little traveler. Hello, quiet sailor. Tonight's story is about a tiny boat that didn't float on water, but waited patiently by your bed, ready to carry you across the seas of dreams. Every night, when the lights were turned off and the house became still, a little wooden boat sat quietly by the side of the bed. It was no bigger than a shoe, but it wasn't just a toy. It was the dream boat, made of gentle wood with a sail stitched from soft pillow thread. It waited, not for wind, not for waves, but for one thing only, for a child to close their eyes. You see, this boat didn't sail oceans, it sailed dreams. Each time a sleepy head sank into the pillow, the dream boat would gently rise, growing just big enough for a sleepy passenger to climb aboard without ever waking up. The boat always knew where to go. Some nights, it sailed through a sea of stars where whales swam slowly through stardust. Other nights, it followed a river of silver light that wound through floating islands made of clouds. It passed glowing jellyfish that whispered good night. It drifted near floating lanterns that hummed lullabies. It never rocked too much. It never lost its way. The dream boat listened to the dreams and guided them gently, away from worries, away from noise, straight into the calm. And when the sun began to peek over the edge of morning, the boat would float silently back, shrinking, softening, curling back into the space beside the bed, waiting, waiting for the next night, the next dreamer, the next quiet journey. Tonight, as you lay still, listen for the soft creak of a tiny wooden sail. The dream boat is ready. Close your eyes. Your journey awaits. Good night. Hello, little one. Tonight's story is about a single yawn, so gentle, so quiet, that it floated through the sky and helped the whole world fall asleep. In a quiet cottage near the edge of a sleepy forest, a girl named Mila let out a long, slow yawn. She had brushed her teeth, hugged her favorite stuffed bear, and climbed under her blanket. Then, with her eyes half closed, she yawned. So the softest, sleepiest yawn you've ever heard. But this was no ordinary yawn. This yawn was made of calm. It was light as a feather and warm as cocoa. It slipped out of Mila's mouth and drifted up and out through the window into the starry sky. The yawn floated gently, like a bubble made of dreams. First, it passed a barn where baby animals were rustling in the hay. As the yawn floated by, the lambs and calves blinked slowly and lay down to sleep. Then the yawn passed over a playground where the wind was still swinging one lonely swing. The swing slowed, then stopped. The whole park took a breath. The yawn kept going. It floated across cities and rooftops, over forests and fields. Wherever it went, lights dimmed, voices softened, and sleepy eyes blinked just one last time before closing. Far away, in a treehouse on a mountain, a boy looked up at the sky. He felt the yawn pass over him, like a warm breeze that whispered, "Shh." He yawned back, then snuggled into his sleeping bag and drifted off. Even the moon, watching from above, blinked a little slower. The stars twinkled gently, like they were sighing with relief. The yawn traveled all night, touching every corner of the world. And when it finally floated back to Mila's window, it curled into a small invisible loop and wrapped around her head like a lullaby scarf. She smiled in her sleep, never knowing that her tiny yawn had tucked the whole world in. So tonight, if you feel a yawn coming on, don't hold it back. Let it float. You never know who it might help sleep next. Good night.
Hello again, gentle dreamer.
Tonight's story is about a special rocking chair. One that didn't just sway back and forth, but lifted off the ground when the world got very quiet. In a quiet house, in a quiet room, sat an old wooden rocking chair. It was smooth from years of use, with arms worn down by gentle hands and a cushion that sighed softly when someone sat down. Everyone in the family loved the chair, but no one knew its secret. Except Grandma. Each evening, after the sun set and the windows turned dark, Grandma would sit in a chair with a warm blanket and a little one in her arms. She would rock slowly, back and forth, back and forth. And just when the child's eyes began to close, the chair would lift just a little, just enough for the floor to disappear beneath it. The room would stay the same, lamp glowing, clock ticking softly, air warm and still. But the chair floated silently, carrying its sleepy passengers into the sky of dreams. They never noticed when it happened, but as the stars blinked above, the chair would drift, past rooftops with yawning cats, above clouds shaped like storybook creatures, beside owls that waved with one sleepy wing. Sometimes it floated through entire dream cities, where buildings whispered lullabies and the streets were made of quiet light. The child never woke. The blanket never slipped. Grandma just kept rocking, back and forth, back and forth. And when it was time, the chair would gently float back down, landing with a soft shh on the wooden floor. No bumps, no noise, just peace. By morning, the chair looked as it always had, still, worn, waiting. But Grandma knew. The child knew too, deep down. That rocking chair wasn't just furniture. It was a dream ship with wooden arms and a heart full of quiet. Tonight, if you hear a creaking in the night,
Maybe a chair is rocking, just enough to carry someone into a dream. Sleep tight, little one. Good night.
Hello, tiny traveler. Tonight's story is about a pair of magical mittens, not for keeping warm from the cold, but for catching beams of moonlight and turning them into dreams. In a quiet town where the rooftops sparkled with frost and stars, lived a boy named Arlo. One chilly evening, as he got ready for bed, his grandmother handed him a pair of mittens. They were silver and soft, almost glowing under the lamplight. "These," she said with a wink, "are moonlight mittens. Only wear them when you're ready to dream." Arlo smiled, but didn't quite understand. That night, as the moon rose full and bright, he slipped the mittens on. They felt cool at first, like snow that didn't melt, and then suddenly, warm! The tips of his fingers tingled. He held his hands up toward the window, where the moonlight poured in like gentle silver rain. And when the light touched the mittens, something wonderful happened. It stuck! The moonlight clung to the mittens like threads of glowing yarn, wrapping around his fingers, sparkling and soft. Arlo closed his eyes and began to float, not in his body, but in his dreams. With the mittens guiding him, he glided across glowing fields of night flowers that bloomed in silence. He climbed silver ladders that reached up into the stars. He waved to owls that carried soft lanterns, and high above him, moon whales swam through the sky, their tails leaving trails of lullaby dust. The mittens never let go. They kept him warm. They lit his way. They turned every quiet corner of the dream world into something safe and full of wonder. By morning, Arlo woke up smiling. The mittens lay folded beside his pillow, no longer glowing, but somehow still special. From that day on, each night when the moon appeared, Arlo reached for his moonlight mittens and let them carry him gently into sleep. Tonight, if the moonlight touches your room, pretend you have mittens made of silver and stars. Let them guide you into the softest dreams. Good night. The stars are twinkling quietly, and the night is ready to carry you far away. Let your eyes grow heavy and listen to a gentle tale about a dream that found the softest way to travel. Once, in a room filled with soft blankets and sleepy toys, a small dream waited. It didn't know what it would become: a flying horse, a candy forest, a talking whale. It just knew one thing. It wanted to find the right child to visit. But dreams are light, so light that they can't walk or run or fly. So the little dream waited until, through the window, floated a tiny white feather. It swirled and spun in the air, glowing just a little in the moonlight. The dream reached out and hopped aboard, nestling right into the curve of the feather. Together, they drifted through the night, past rooftops and wind chimes, over sleeping cats and quiet gardens. The dream whispered stories to the feather, and the feather carried it faster and farther, with no sound at all. Down below, in a cozy room, a child named Mira turned in her sleep. She was almost dreaming, but not quite. The feather dipped low, danced through the crack of her window, and gently landed on her pillow. As it touched the fabric, the dream leapt off, right into Mira's thoughts. That night, Mira dreamed of a flying horse who sang lullabies, a forest made of soft cotton candy, and a whale who told stories about the stars. All thanks to a feather and a dream that waited for the right moment. Maybe tonight a feather is drifting your way too, carrying a soft, special dream that's just for you. Close your eyes now and let it land gently. Good night, little dreamer. Hi, sleepy friend. Have you ever wondered what a storybook does when everyone is asleep? Tonight you'll find out, because this is the tale of a book that didn't wait for someone to read it. It read itself. On a wooden shelf in a quiet library sat a small red book. Its pages were worn and soft from many tiny hands, and its cover had a little gold star in the corner. But no one had opened it in a very long time. Children didn't visit much anymore, and even the librarian sometimes forgot it was there. But this book wasn't lonely, because every night, when the lights went out, it did something magical. It opened itself. Gently, one page at a time, it let out a warm whisper, not loud, not scary, just soft words floating into the dark. The book read fairy tales to the chairs, adventures to the pencils, and lullabies to the dust floating through the air. Its favorite story was about a bear who painted the moon. One night, a little girl named Nia got lost in the library. She had fallen asleep while reading and woke up in the dark. She was scared at first, until she heard a soft voice, not her own, not anyone else's, but the sound of the book, reading itself aloud. She followed the sound through the shelves until she found it, open, glowing faintly. She sat down beside it, hugged her knees, and listened. The book didn't stop. It told stories until Nia's eyes closed again, and she drifted off, surrounded by stories, held by the warm hum of imagination. Some stories are too patient to stay silent. Maybe tonight, as you sleep, one will read itself just for you. Good night, little listener.